breathe, come together and make a good collaboration and communication. So our project starts with like this, and we put the curriculum with digital tools. We want to make digital innovation. Today we are here because we need some new educational model in our classes, and then now we will learn hybrid learning by Salsan now. She is me expert and me trainer, and we will learn this new educational model and we will put it in our classes.
Thank you.
Yes, Salsan, let's start with hybrid learning. What is it and how can we use in our classes? We have lots of questions in our minds.
Hello, everybody. I think you're seeing me now. So I will start my webinar by I will send a link in the chat box in here. Before starting the webinar, I would like to know how much do you know about hybrid learning. So I'm going to share with you a link here, and I kindly ask you to click on that link and write words related to hybrid learning if you are familiar with the topic. So if you are ready, I would like you to click on the link and write some words related to hybrid learning if you are familiar with the theme, and then I will show you what we will get out from your words. Are you ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Great. So let's go together to that link. Does it work for you, Osler?
I'm trying to get it now.
Okay, so it's a link with the Slido app and or tool. So you're going to enter a word to answer the question, what is hybrid learning? And this activity is the brainstorming of our webinar.
Okay, I'm trying to get it now.
Okay, great. Very good. Many answers are coming. So some have answered online lessons, complicated, blended learning, mixture, joint, mixed learning as well. Okay, that's very good. That's very good. So we are on the right path. Great. Okay. So we have a very hard-working attendees for today. They are all responding. with a very high willingness today. I'm really happy with that. Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you very much. So I'm going just to report what you have written on the Slido answers about what is hybrid learning. So some answered it's a mixture online and on-site lesson, joint hard work, blended learning, online lessons, and mixed less learning, complicated. Very well, very good. Well done. I like it. Great. Now let's move on immediately to the next slide, which is I'm going to give you really a brief overview of uh, what are we going to do and what we are living nowadays. So all of you that nowadays is really we are living in a critical situations due to the pandemic, which radically disrupted every aspect of life, including education as well, and left educational institutions really clamoring for systems and structures that ensure a continuation of learning for all students. So what is the solution for that? We are really in need of some effective tools and effective methods to try to overcome these situations. And this method is really, or basically, is remote learning experiences. I'm sure that many of you are experiencing nowadays this kind of remote learning, which are implemented by schools and universities during the pandemic. But the problem in here that the remote learning really revealed some challenges, some many impediments and hardships for the students as well as the teachers or educators as well. So in some countries, quarantine orders end, and the school systems are examining the best way to convene on campuses and connect with students remotely. So schools and universities are exploring numerous educational models to meet the needs of their students. And which are the models? Maybe you know these kind of varied models adopted by universities or schools. So these models are three models. The first one is partial opening. Some schools and institutions are allowing only specific students to return to campus. And groups eligible for returning to campus include younger students and students with special needs, and or students who don't have access to connected devices that enable remote learning. Now, the remainder of students will continue their education in a virtual environment. See, this is, we call it partial opening. Some schools are adopting this kind of model. The second one is synchronous and separated. This model is based on the kind of conducting face-to-face and online instructions at the same time. Some students are in person while others are joining the same class but remotely. This is synchronous and separated. The third model is rotational. By rotational here, I mean that others and some schools are rotating, shifting or swapping students on and off campus throughout the week. Students, for example, attend classes on campus on specific days while their peers work remotely asynchronously on the same days. And other days, the attendance flips, and these working remotely go to school while the others will work asynchronously. So these are some of the models adopted by some institutions, and maybe you may really encountering these or maybe adopting in your schools or institutions these kind of models. But here the question, or maybe we are here, maybe we stop for a while and think critically on this situation. Are these all models effective really? Do they meet the students' needs and expectations? Maybe also the parents' expectations as well, or the guardians. Why do we need to opt for a more effective method? This is here we are really trying to ask the question and really find the effective and efficient answer to all our inquiries related to the best method and model to teaching nowadays in this delicate and serious situation. If you want to say something, Maria, please do. If you want to intervene, it's okay with me. I can stop here and I will hear you. Or else I will carry on. Okay, now this is the question. This is the main or the basis question of nowadays webinar. What is hybrid learning? And here I'm going to give you, sorry, the see here the chart on my slide. Here you have on your left the online, on your right the classroom. Here means the face-to-face, and then in the middle there is the common part of it is hybrid. I mean, the chart maybe makes it clearer to you. Now, a hybrid learning environment is really a mix or a mixture of all the models that we have seen earlier. A hybrid approach to learning builds on the successes of these models to intentionally create a learner-centered experience that is profoundly personalized, relevant, and engaging. It's really something very important to know that we are adopting hybrid learning not for the sake of using technology, or I don't know, maybe showing off, or something that you are really, I mean, proficient in technology or using technology. This is not the objective of hybrid learning or remote learning. It is, as I said in here, it is built on the learner-centered experience. The learner is the center of everything. Within a hybrid model, learning centers on personal relationships. It uses face-to-face and online platforms like here Microsoft Teams. I'm using it with my students to facilitate meaningful connections between students and ensures synchronous time is used to the best possible purposes. It focuses on authentic, relevant learning that provides students with voice, choice, and agency. This is also very important because in a hybrid learning, students have a voice. They need to participate. They are not going to stay in front of their computers like machines. They need to interact. They need to participate in the learning process. So it also incorporates peer tutoring, student self-assessment, and collaboration among instructors and students to design and carry out the learning experience. It is human-centered in general. Now, in short, the hybrid model combines the best of in-school and remote learning with digital engagement. It is more than a quick fix. It is a way to enhance and accelerate learning by providing student-centered approaches to meet diverse learners' needs. So here as well, in the hybrid learning experience or model or method, the focus on learners' needs is essential, because not all the learners learn in the same way. They have different styles, they have different intelligences. So also when we design an online lesson, we need to take it into account. Now, what are we going to do in order to move to a dynamic, motivating hybrid learning model? So we need to build a whole system of resilience in their institutions, I mean in the schools and universities. We have 3 strategies that aid or help in creating such resilience. Include, first of all, collaborative capacity building. That means that institutions can leverage technology to support leaders and instructors in collaborating with one another, and they transition to hybrid model. The second strategy is to standardize digital platforms. That means that schools and universities should select the technology tools that lead to a cohesive and engaging student learning. Each country in here has adopted for a digital platform to standardize this kind of experience to all the teachers and the students, and to make it really accessible to all of them. The third strategy is to utilize the chosen digital platform to the change management. Here, the school systems must implement their standardized digital platform to support change management across the stakeholders in their systems. It's very important as well. Now, these are some of the tools that Microsoft 365, and here I wonder, or maybe I'm sure that all of you has got the Microsoft 365 account, and some countries really provide the Office 365 for free for the teachers, so that they can use it freely and really profit from all the applications and that really Microsoft provides. So the Microsoft 365 is the perfect digital platform for educational institutions. And here I'm talking about Microsoft Teams, for example, that offers a flexible and dynamic digital hub for all the educators. And really, it simplifies the workflow for both instructors and students. Additionally, other tools in Microsoft 365 suite can serve many functions within an educational system. And here on the picture, on the photo that I have inserted in my slide, you can see, like, for example, you have Microsoft Teams, you have the Outlook, the Stream, the OneDrive, the SharePoint, and the forms, the learning tools, and all of them. In the picture, you will find all the advantages that can really you can really benefit from them. If you want me to share the presentation with you, my PowerPoint presentation, I will be glad to share it with you after we finish. Yes, Google Classroom and Meet as well. Yes, sure. There are lots of educational tools and digital platform to be used, but here I'm talking about some governments, they opt for certain platforms because these platforms, like for example the Microsoft Teams or Microsoft 365, Office 365, allows the teachers to have their accounts, and it's for free. For example, talking about our government, the Tunisian government has got really access or bought the license from Microsoft, so we all have access to Microsoft 365. Yeah, okay. Now, we are going to see now the elements, or the key elements, I call them, when we are moving to hybrid learning. What do we need to focus on, and what do we need to take into consideration? There are 5 elements, as you can see on the slide in here. The first one is learning environment, class community, lesson design, engagement and interactivity, and assessment and feedback. Here you may see that these elements can also occur in a face-to-face lesson, isn't it? But here we are trying to see how we can adapt these elements to a hybrid learning environment. Let's move to the first one. The first element, which is learning environment. Now, as you can see in the picture, in a normal situation, in a physical class, in a face-to-face experience, the teacher can see all his pupils or her pupils. It is really something clear to her. But when we are moving to hybrid learning, things will differ. Things will change. So in hybrid learning, fluidly combines the best of in-school and online learning with digital engagement. It is a way to enhance and accelerate learning by providing student-centered approaches to foster global competencies and meet diverse learners' needs. To create such a learning environment, educational institutions must create physical and virtual learning spaces that are conducive to dynamic interactions with students who are both in person and remote. This is very important. As we are doing in our classrooms, in our face-to-face classrooms, we are trying to establish a harmonious, a cool, a relaxed atmosphere or environment so that our learner really will achieve something at the end of the lesson. Now, instructors are well accustomed to in-person instruction. Their learning spaces are optimized for visibility. We all see our students when we are in class. And collaboration, pair work, group work, they know how to garner students' attention, how to attract, how to capture their attention, gauge understanding, assess understanding, on track their understanding, and foster conversations. They have established protocols, or I call it classroom rules, or sometimes classroom activities, and also procedures, steps, and expectations for students' behavior. We expect before we come to our classroom, we expect what will happen. If I ask these questions, will all the pupils respond? Will all the pupils react? And also class assignments. Now, class management as well and class workflow are, in short, well established and comfortable in a normal situation. Now when we are transition or moving to a hybrid learning environment, so we need here to establish this kind of cool atmosphere that we are used to have in our classroom or in our in-person classrooms to a virtual learning spaces for teachers and students. Example with Microsoft Teams. Teams for me is the perfect tool for providing continuity and flexibility. As the digital hub for hybrid classrooms, now Microsoft Teams allows educators to connect with students in Teams calls, to create and collect assignments, to share resources and facilitate collaboration among all students, whether attending in person or virtually. Instructors here are also able to integrate their resources and apps within Teams. You can integrate an app with Teams, making it a centralized learning space similar to the physical classroom. Great. Any questions so far? Okay, now in a hybrid model, educators must present their course bimodally in order to accommodate students who are physically on campus and students who are attending remotely. See, instructors therefore need to set up their classroom to optimize instruction for students who are attending virtually via Teams calls. So educators need to use, of course, the microphone, the webcam, to ensure the virtual students can hear and see the instruction throughout the teaching session. Our students need to see us. This kind of visibility for them through video conferencing makes them relaxed. They need to see you. They need to see the teachers, especially when we were in lockdown, in quarantine. Our students, they were emotionally a little bit delicate at that moment, so they need the teachers with them. Just when they see the teacher, they feel a little bit maybe more at ease. You see, so this kind of relationship or rapport with their teacher make it easier, makes the learning process easier for them. Now, also, educators must also set up policies and procedures for their virtual environment. Now, how will they do that? How instruction take attendance and gauge participation during synchronous calls? So how the educator will know that his or her students are really making a progress? He or she needs to track the students' progress. So during collaborative work, also, how will educators break students into groups virtually? You see what I mean? Get students' attention and bring everyone back to the main classroom for check-ins or further instructions. So they must determine basically how they can modify their current in-person learning procedures to work in a virtual space. This is also very important, and also it needs a lot of effort and courage from the part of the educators. Furthermore, now the educator should establish a workflow for sharing content and resources, distributing and collecting assignments as well, offering feedback and evaluating students' work. In Microsoft Teams and OneNote class, the notebooks, and assignments in Teams, because in Microsoft Teams, you can also do assignments, can streamline everyone's workflow and help students organize class materials, work independently, and prioritize assignments. Finally, instructors or educators should determine an organizational structure for that virtual learning space. The educators can also use channels. Those who are using Microsoft Teams know that in Microsoft Teams you can also create channels to create structure. Can be organized in a variety of ways. First of all, the weekly channels, the topic-based channels, the channels for each activity, or group-based channels, of course, using private channels as well. Great. Now, before I move to the class community, I would like to announce that after the webinar, you will be able to get your certificates. Now, the second key element of hybrid learning will be class community. Here, of course, when I talk about class community, I mean that relationship between students when the educator is encouraging the students, giving positive feedback, urging students to do well. So this is called the building of the sense of community among students. It is very important in hybrid models or hybrid learning. Also, they can create community through a variety of experience, because students need to feel connected to one another and to their instructor, of course. Now, the educators must find a way to bridge that physical distance, to bridge the gap. I mean, by this physical distance that separates the participants, by creating, of course, this kind of class community. Now, the instructors need to be thoughtful regarding how they foster relationship with students and to encourage this kind of connection and camaraderie. Educators or teachers really must consider how they will create a welcoming virtual learning space for students. Sometimes we need to create, for example, a welcoming video to our students. This video, of course, should be short. It should be an introductory video to welcome students to the virtual learning space. And of course, posting discussions prompts or hosting virtual social activities. In the video also, the teacher can insert or can talk about the protocols, his or her own rules in the virtual classroom. So it would be really a very effective way to attract students, to encourage them to come to this kind of new experience for them, to the hybrid learning, to the remote learning, by speaking to them, explaining to them. Students need to understand what you are talking about, need to understand what your objectives are, and when they understand and when they feel you, they will be, of course, and unquestionably motivated. Now I'm gonna talk about the crucial component or the most interesting component of the success in a hybrid environment. So will be the students' comfort that really will level up their communication online and collaboration in peers. So here I have a quote that I inserted. If distance and hybrid learning are to succeed in future iterations, students will need both more experienced communication online and small group, emotionally safe opportunities to communicate and collaborate with peers and teachers in real time through posts, team chat, or live meetings. And the more students practice communicating in the virtual classroom, and here I am really experiencing with my own students when they are online with me and they are talking to me or talking to their friends, they feel more and more comfortable. And this, I saw it, and I really noticed that my students from the first online lesson to yesterday's online lesson, they have become more confident and more comfortable. They because they are aware of all the rules and the norms I established. They are aware of a basic thing that hybrid learning and remote learning is the best way uh, to this continuity of learning, because learning is a process, it's a chain in fact. Moreover, as collaborators in virtual environment, students need to practice cyber safety and comply with digital citizenship, very important as well. And we are here nearing the 9th of February when we will celebrate the e-Safer Day, the Internet Security Day. Instructors as well can either establish the rules for online courtesies. Here we call it the netiquette, how to behave online, how to respect each other, how to respect each other's privacy. And they can take students through the group norming process to establish guidelines. Once established, the digital citizenship principles must be made very clear to them, always restated and never forgotten. Students need to understand that their purpose is to always protect themselves, be considerate to others, and be respectful for others' ideas and work. And here, of course, as I said it before, it is we call it the netiquette. Now, of course, when I say the class community, it's a sense of connection, of course, which matters a lot. And here we are referring to Vygotsky zone of proximal development that emphasize or that says that student-to-student interaction, this community, this connection, these relationships helps create new learning, and students must work with each other to learn and succeed in hybrid environment. They need both their instructor and their peers to learn. Finally, now to create a strong community, student well-being must be at the forefront of hybrid environments. Research proves that emotion is the entry point to motivation, cognition, and attention. And here I refer again to Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. Vygotsky is a Russian, I think he's a Russian, yes, he's a Russian researcher. And his theme or his topic is based on this community and connection between the educator and the student that really helps the students to be more motivated and learn better. This is, I inserted this slide. Maybe you are familiar with Vygotsky's theory. It's the Vygotsky cognitive development that really emphasize the interaction between the students and um, the educator, which is fundamental to the cognitive development. So Vygotsky theory is comprised of concepts such as culture-specific tools, language, and thought interdependence, and the zone of proximal development, as you can here see on the picture. It moves from I can't do these even with help to I can do these by myself. And when I can do these by myself, the student says, this means that the student is fully autonomous and independent. So as well, this is also another what Vygotsky said, learning awakens a variety of development processes that are able to operate only when the student is interacting with people. So as you can see here, even when we are online, even when we are in a hybrid environment experience, students need both their instructor, their peer. They need to feel really in a very cool and relaxed atmosphere. And this relaxed atmosphere will be achieved through interaction and communication. Now, the third key element of hybrid learning is lesson design. Of course, as we are all educators, we are all designing lessons in face-to-face. Now we're gonna design a lesson when we are online. Mariam, what did you say, Mariam? What about the time of the live meeting? How can I choose it and fix it? Okay. Osler, please, can you please help Mariam with that? She's asking about the I think she's asking about the Facebook live meeting. Okay, so we're gonna move to the lesson design.
Understand
Now, here got
what's happening. What did you say?
Also, Mariam, our other Tunisian partner, is asking you about how can she join the live meeting. I think in Facebook or YouTube.
Mini started a live event on
No?
Facebook now.
Okay. Mariam, can you please specify your question because I did not get your point? Okay.
If you go our Facebook group, you can enter.
Okay. So if you have any questions or online or inquiries, we will leave some time in the end and then we will answer all your questions. So here when I design a lesson, what shall I put in mind? The design with the end in my mind. I start with the first question. What do you want students to know at the end of the lesson? Then what will the final assessment be? After that, what will students need along the way? Then in here, when I'm in the process of teaching, and what will students need along the way when I am teaching them in their learning process? What will you cover in your lesson as educator? What readings will you share? What activities and assignments will they complete? And here, this is not something new to you. We are all doing this in our class, in our lessons. Now, once the course objectives are identified and the learning activities are created, instructors need to focus on strategies for delivering the content and communicating the learning plan and expectations to the students. Of course, students need to know what is today's plan. What are they going to do? It's not done haphazardly. They also need to know what you are doing. What did you design for them today? When delivering content synchronously, brain research indicates that instructors must do something emotionally relevant every 10 minutes in order to keep students' attention. to create segmented lesson in a live lesson here, instructors can pause. Okay, now I'm going to stop for a while and see if my students are really following me on, are everything is okay with them, they are understood everything at designed times, and ask students to share the thoughts. They can talk to you, they can share the thought, they can ask questions or answer questions, or you can do more than that. They can complete a quick poll or practice forms quiz, for example. Yeah. Then process or practice a concept. Discuss what they are learning with a partner. Use a sample emoji in the chat window to demonstrate the comfort level with the material. Or you can also use many millions other tools, like for example, create a game with any online tool that you like, for example with a word wall or learning app or Kahoot maybe, to see if they are with you, if they are following the lesson, and also to pause for a while. And this pause, I call it a brain break. We need sometimes in our lessons to do this kind of activity as a brain break. It's like a small pause for the brain. Then it also aims at refreshing the students' motivation, refreshing the students' concentration as well, especially with the young learners. We need to do this kind of brain breaks. You can Google it. It's a very nice tool. It's a very nice way to do with our students. Now we are talking about asynchronous learning. Now the instructor can record mini lessons. Now research reports that the optimal length of instructional videos is 6 minutes, not more than that. After 6 minutes, students will lose concentration and motivation. If an instructional video is longer than 6 minutes, instructor should upload the video to Microsoft Stream and insert questions via form and at specific points in the video that will allow students to pause and reflect on what they are learning before they move on and watch more. Moreover, educators should frequently communicate the learning goals. As I said before, students should be aware of your plan, of your objectives, of your expectations. Of course, additionally, a review of best practices in distance education found, because distance education involves physical separation of teacher and student, the design of instruction must be highly precise to make sure that students have all of the information they need and that is presented in a logical and easy to follow format. We are not going to complicate things for our students. We need to simplify things for them, especially when we are in asynchronous learning or teaching, or in hybrid learning. Now, this, as you can see in the picture, here you have the course design. Of course, you have the goals, the content, the practice skills, the methods, the strategies, maybe the materials, what you are going to use as tool for assessment, for feedback. All these things should be put into consideration. So finally, to help students with structure and time management, instructors should plan to scaffold lessons and assignments, providing students with smaller activities where they can practice skills and find success is one positive way to help prepare students for larger tasks that will be required in summative assessments. So we need to practice, we need to train our learners to solve some small activities. And here we can help them improve their problem solving skills by assigning some small activities and then train them step by step to become proficient when they are encountering a more complicated task. Now, after that, we have a very important key element, which is engagement and interactivity. How to keep the students engaged, how to keep them concentrated with you, and how to interact with you as a teacher and with their peers. Now, students' engagement and interactivity is basically another, of course, element of hybrid learning. So the teacher should consider, as I said, how to keep students engaged synchronously and asynchronously. Moreover, now educators need to present their course bimodally for students who are physically on campus as well as students who are attending remotely. So the instructors can prepare for the bimodal connections by asking themselves. And here, as teachers, we are all the time asking questions. We are all the time reflecting on our own teaching methods. And here, we will start reflecting on our own methods on hybrid learning. What are the core experience of in-person learning and interaction that need to be translated online? This is very important. Educators need to invest in the live lecture experience to ensure that it is just as personal for the student joining remotely as it is for the students in the physical classroom. It means that when we are teaching our students online, we need to make them feel as if they are in a real situation or in a face-to-face situation. This really needs a lot of effort from the part of the teacher, and maybe I may add as well some also maybe experience or expertise in this kind of model of teaching. Now, what are they going to use? Teachers can use a variety of strategies to ensure that all students are active participants. Here I'm talking about interactivity. Break students into small groups to solve problems, discuss concepts, or debate topics. Now, students joining remotely can work with the students attending in person. It's a very nice experience. Now, I have students in person and have students attending the lesson remotely, and they can engage in this kind of interaction or group discussions. Then provide students with hands-on activities that allow them to practice or visualize concepts. Be sure to use everyday items that remote students have in their homes, so they will feel they can participate in the activity. Make sure to communicate the items they should collect and have at their remote learning workplace before class begins, so students come prepared. If special items are required, create take-home bags and that students can pick up at a designated time. Then you can give students time to process and practice concepts individually. Be mindful about finding times within a class meeting to have students reflect on what they are hearing and practice what you are demonstrating. So here, when I say give time to process and practice to our students, it means that we need to give them some thinking time. Students need time to think. It is not an immediate answer. It doesn't mean that when a student answer your question immediately that the other students will not. The others need some more time. We can also do it when we are teaching online. Now, furthermore, they need to implement strategies that quickly evaluate students' comprehension during synchronous sessions. Strategies include requiring everyone to reflect on a question and not allowing anyone to raise their hand to answer the question until everyone is shown a thumbs up, both in-person and remote students. In-person students can physically indicate they are ready to move on with a thumbs up. Remote students can add a thumbs up emoji in the chat window. Then asking students to change their status to red if they are still working on they are having trouble with a concept, and to change their status to green when they are finished working or feel confident with the concept. Remote students can change their statuses to busy for red and available for green. In-person students can use a note card with a red dot on one side and a green dot on the other side and flip to the appropriate selection. As for me, I use personally this kind of activity, but I say to my students, well, I will give you the TT, and they know because I have established this in advance, the TT is a thinking time. And when the TT is over, I make them listen to the sound of a ring, the sound of a ring, and then when they hear the sound of the ring means that the TT is over. Finally, creating an art forms or polypoll or pear deck or Nearpod presentation or a Kahoot or a Quizlet activity and asking all students to participate. Especially for young learners, they love Kahoot as well. Now, what do the educators need to do is to examine the course book demands to ensure that students do not experience the two extremes of workloads. Now, the undue stress from tasks that are too challenging or boredom from tasks that are not challenging enough. Both situations cause students to disengage. Instructors therefore must consider students' zone of proximal development to create more accurate estimates of and then monitoring the students' workloads. Now, the connected classroom. Additionally, because students may be in or out of a physical and virtual classrooms and working away from their instructors at times, they will need to be highly motivated to complete their coursework. Instructors will therefore need to design units of learning that tap into students' interests and pose authentic problems for students to solve. Using a hybrid model, instructors can create a connected classroom in which they work together with their students to both design and carry out the learning experience. Within this model, students have a voice in designing the learning goals and identifying the resources that can support these learning goals. Now, the assessment and feedback, we are of course doing it in our face-to-face classrooms, but how to do it online? You may have an idea about that. Of course, as educators, we are caring about our learning progress. We need to gauge their understanding, to track if they are on the right path or not. So assessment can be done in many ways. For example, number one, the audio feedback in OneNote, using assignments in Microsoft Teams, so the teacher can distribute a OneNote page to students. And when finished, educators can use the insert audio feature to offer feedback. So they will hear your feedback, they will hear your voice. And this will, of course, indicate an increased satisfaction with audio feedback. Students need to know your feedback, and they need to hear you as well. Then we have the notes in forms or quizzes. They can insert messages within a form, practice quiz to provide feedback as the students complete the quiz. This is also a very good way to implement this kind of engagement and interest. And when it is in private, also it's good. Some learners feel shy when you are, for example, giving them a feedback in front of their peers. Now, the third one is to give feedback cycles with assignments in Teams. Here, you can create an assignment in Microsoft Teams that is requiring the students to submit their final work through the team. Once submitted, educators can review the students' work and provide feedback. And when the feedback is returned to students, they can modify their work based on the instructor's feedback and resubmit. Of course, also you can do it with Google Classroom as well. It provides as well this kind of assignments. You can write the feedback and it will be returned to the students. Now, the opportunity to reimagine education. Now, we are facing some challenges nowadays. So, what we are going to do, what we are going to implement. So, the model I'm talking about is hybrid learning. It's a mixture between remote and in-person learning. And I think this is a very good tool to preserve or to install this continuity in learning. We are, at least we know that we can teach our students remotely when, for example, our country is in a quarantine or lockdown. Quality learning must be built on the interests of students along the following dimensions. So connecting to purpose and meaning, challenging students to have high expectations, position and learning goals that focus beyond the basics, and using engagement pedagogies, building relationships and belongings, providing opportunities to contribute to the world. So, as educational institutions transition to hybrid learning models, they have the opportunity to reimagine education and build a learning environment that incorporates all the dimensions of a quality learning experience. The schools of higher education, institutions of higher education, can create strong learning communities focused on core concepts, the basic concepts, on solving authentic problems. Students, of course, will gain valuable life skills, preparing them to positively contribute to their communities and to be successful in their work. By implementing these new strategies, educators are contributing to the collective experience of hybrid learning and to the science of teaching. Instructors should therefore find ways to document their own learning and reflect on their professional practice. Reflecting through a private journal or public blog, for example, on the teaching practices educators implement will ensure that the educational profession continues to move forward during these unprecedented time. This is, of course, about all the key elements that I was talking about in my slide presentation, my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you very much. I hope I was not really long. And this is the last link that I'm going to share with you. It's a link on Linoit, on which you are supposed, and I invite you all, kindly invite you to share your thoughts about hybrid learning. I will share the link on the chat box so that you can access the link and share with us your opinions. What is hybrid learning for you? What did you get from the presentation, if you can remember? So this is the Linoit presentation. Any inquiries or questions? The webinar is only for 1 hour. It is over now. I have shared with you the link via Linoit where you can share your thoughts And I will also share with you the link of your certificates. You can get your certificates by just answering one question, and you can get your certificates. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. I hope I was not really a burden for you. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thanks a lot for your active participation in the chat
Thank
box.
you, dear Sasan. This is very effective webinar.
Thank you very much.
This is so interesting. I like it very much, and I have some questions in my mind, but they are clear now. And I will be a member of Microsoft 356 from after this webinar. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you very
your
much.
effort.
Thanks a lot. You're welcome. Thank you. Welcome. Just I want them to access the link about the certificates of participation, please. I need to know if it's accessible for them. Thank you, Carmela. Thanks a lot. Zainab, what link? Linoit or the link of the certificates? Zainab, was it the link of the certificate? Ah, the certificate. Okay. Okay, I will try to fix it.